Welcome to TechLaunch's 23rd Bullpen Pitch Competition. It's my pleasure to welcome you. At this point, I'd like to, my name is Mario Casabona. I'm the founder and executive director of TechLaunch. At this point, I'd like to introduce my co-host, Robin Baer. She's a strategic advisor for startups and middle market companies, also an advisor and a senior mentor at TechLaunch. And Eric Korb, who's the webinar producer. He's the person that's making a lot of this happen. He's a successful entrepreneur as well as an advisor and senior mentor at TechLaunch. So our overall mission is to commercialize emerging technology by finding and nurturing early stage tech ventures and to help them accelerate their growth via mentoring, coaching, networking, and access to resources and capital. And we do this two ways: the Business Accelerator, which culminates in this bullpen pitch event, and also office hours program. Every week, Monday morning at 10:30, I feature 6 or 7 senior mentors that are available for office hour sessions. Next slide, please. Thank you. The panel, I'm very delighted to introduce, actually very briefly introduce, because they're going to introduce themselves. And they're the panel. I've known all 4 of them for a long time, and I enjoy their company at times. So George, would you mind starting with a brief introduction?
Thanks, Mario, and I hope it's my company that you enjoy at times. So
sometimes, George.
Thank you very much. Well, it's great to be back, Mario, and the rest of the TechLaunch family. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. This is not the first time I've been a judge, so it's always a blast to come and see some of the great things that people in the New Jersey ecosystem are working on. I am the CEO of Inkbench, which in and of itself is actually a TechLaunch winner. Back in 2019, I believe we were actually presenting and had won an award there. So I've been on both sides of the table. And further, I'm not sure if people are aware of it, but we recently received an investment from the New Jersey EDA through their CoVest fund. And I'm just saying that as a way of putting out a commercial for our good friends at the New Jersey EDA. As entrepreneurs, I would strongly encourage you to build relationships with them because they are a great resource for the ecosystem here in New Jersey. I can't speak enough good things about them. And, I've had an entrepreneurial career, but I'm not going to go and give my whole background and rather just look forward to hearing what you all have to say.
Great. Thanks, George. Jason?
Mario, it's a pleasure to be here. This is my first time as a judge with TechLaunch, so thank you for the opportunity. I'm excited to see the pitches today. My background, I've been a part of 7 ventures, health, law, insurance, marketing, had a successful exit in 2012, and at that point became the first full-time faculty at the Feliciano Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation at Montclair State University, where in addition to teaching entrepreneurship and innovation and marketing, digital marketing, I'm the co-director of our innovation research lab, Mix Lab. So thank you for having me, Mario. Really excited to be a part of the panel.
Jason, thank you. And Meg?
Hi, Mario, my favorite, Meg Columbia-Walsh. I'm thrilled to be here as a judge again and representing women in technology among our panel. I'm currently a director of sales enablement at AWS, and I have founded 4 companies, sold them all to the Fortune 200, including an IPO. And so I have a lot of background in all stages, from the first draft to where you are today. I'll join George in giving a pitch. My last company, they asked me to stay in the state of New Jersey, and we did build this AI company on top of AWS in the state of New Jersey, and got a grant, went through the EDA program also. which is wonderful, and also some New Jersey investors. So the ecosystem here is wonderful, and good luck to everybody today. And I'll turn it to Mukesh.
Thank you, Meg. Thank you, Mario, for the invitation to participate as a panelist for TechLaunch and Bull Pen. It's a pleasure to be here. So my background is in entrepreneurship, as well as have been a co-founder of approximately 10 startup companies in 6 different industries. Then actively started investing as an angel, co-founded a VC private equity hybrid fund, which I ran for 10 years. And then a co-working space incubator accelerator for startups in the New Jersey ecosystem, currently a professor at Rutgers University, where I am the director of the Innovation Lab and CTech, the Collaborative for Tech Entrepreneurship and Commercialization. Teach courses at the undergrad and graduate level for innovation, entrepreneurship, and strategy. Run the accelerator for disadvantaged minorities, Black, Latinx, and women co-founders, called BLT Accelerator at CUDE, our Center for Urban Entrepreneurship at Rutgers, and co-director of the Entrepreneurship Law Clinic at Rutgers Law School, both in Newark and Camden, that provides free legal services to early stage startups in the New Jersey ecosystem if anyone needs. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you, panelists, and really appreciate you guys taking the time to participate. And actually, George reminded me, that's fine, but George reminded me of another successful company that participated in Bull Pen 18, and they won they were the winner of Bull Pen 18, and they recently announced, and that's Calamu. They recently announced that they raised $16.5 million in a Series A round, and it's primarily to scale to the next generation multi-cloud data protection platform for ransomware recovery. And it was really Paul Lewis, who's the CEO, who really took advantage of the mentoring program as well as the business accelerator. So that's, I want a shout out to Calamu and Paul Lewis for being a successful entrepreneur. So Eric, next slide, please. So our event partners, Jumpstart New Jersey Angel Network, they're one of the premier angel groups in the Mid-Atlantic region. And then we have Tech Council Ventures with well over $50 million under management. And then we have Casabona Ventures, which is really one of my other entities. And we have about 30 tech companies in our portfolio. Gibbons Law, who's one of the nationally recognized leaders in corporate law and also supports startups and small businesses. We then have Gerhardt Law, who's a full-service intellectual property law firm supporting startups, and Withum Smith & Brown, one of the largest accounting firms in the country, and they also support startups. So thank you to our event partners. Next slide, please. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Robin, who's going to host the balance of the program. So Robin, it's all yours, and I'll be rejoining at the end of the program. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Mario. So for those of you who've been with us on prior bullpen pitch competitions, this is going to be very familiar to you. But for everyone new to our event, this is how we run our program. Each startup company will have 7 minutes to make their pitch, followed by 7 minutes of Q&A from the audience. And audience members, this is really your chance to engage with the pitch. We really are looking forward to hearing your questions. Put them in the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen, and I can pick them up from there. We really do encourage you to submit your questions after the pitch. After that 7-minute period for each pitch, we will have 7 minutes of feedback and constructive criticism from the panel. And the panel is really going to be looking and evaluating on which company they think is the most fundable. They're looking at 5 main metrics or main criteria. They're going to be taking a look at the team to see if this is really if these are the folks with experience and expertise to execute on this idea. They're going to be looking at the product, whether there's a minimally viable product, what kinds of product market fit or other milestones that they've seen so far. They're also going to be looking at the market size and need, what kind of addressable market there are, how well the projections might fit with that. They're also going to be evaluating the capital raise and use of funds and whether that's an appropriate match for the goals set forth. And then finally, they're going to look at presentation quality. So with that layout, I believe we are ready to start our first pitch. Next slide, please. So the first company we have up is Proximity Technology. Proximity is a leading specialist in the domain or proximity, authentication, and automation solutions for public and private sector organizations. Proximity Technology focuses on automating everyday processes, specializing in workforce attendance management and waste weight automation solutions through mobile and web-based technologies. Proximity was mentored by Ratan Agarwal, and today is going to be presented by Steve Huber, Senior Strategic Advisor. Just a quick note, the CEO was called away on an urgent last-minute business opportunity, so we do appreciate Steve filling in and leading the presentation today. So Steve, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready, thank you. Okay, so again, thank you for the opportunity today. I'm going to be talking about proximity technology and our expertise and our focus in the market in really leveraging different types of technology that are known as proximity technologies to support a number of use cases through mobile and cloud-based applications. And so if you please advance the slide. So at Proximity Technology, with the core expertise in things like Internet of Things, Bluetooth, near-field communications, and biometrics, we've been able to develop a series of applications, and we've targeted those at very specific industries as a starting point. In the construction industry for things like mobile time and attendance, in the weight automation industry, largely around sanitation and recyclables, and then also with some cashless payment technology, being able to target things like remote venues and places where cashless and credit card payments are not possible or feasible. You can go ahead and advance, please. So again, the core challenges that we attempt to solve and the principles behind why this technology was built was there was a lot of manual collection of data in these particular use cases, and it was causing much latency with regard to being able to collect the information. In a lot of places, there was a tremendous amount of fraud occurring in places like remote employees and attendance, as well as capturing weight of sanitation materials being picked up and having the actual weights logged. And so the need for having a highly secure, centralized approach to how to capture that information through the use of mobile devices and Bluetooth technology to really make it simple to do this in remote and mobile type use cases. So these are the core challenges that we focus on attempting to solve with the suite of applications we have today. You can advance the slide, please. In terms of addressable market, I mentioned some of the core industries, and so it's quite a large sort of marketplace in general for any one of these particular applications that we will go to market with. But ultimately, that is why we've attempted to drill down into some specific industries where they have a very repeatable pattern of a need for supporting these use cases. So we're looking at an aggregate market if we were to dissect mobile time and attendance, wireless cash payment, loyalty programs, as well as weight automation in general, collectively is larger than a $60 billion marketplace at more than 10% compounded annual growth rate. So we believe there is a massive addressable market for the applications that we have built and that we can continue to build and sort of modify to support other similar use cases and industries. You can advance, please. So in terms of how it's delivered and where we focus, so enabling customers to gain real-time access. So as you can imagine, showing up on a job site, being able to scan attendance and having that immediately hit the back office system to know exactly is the right team on a job, or the sanitation in the sanitation industry, picking up and collecting, having that exact weight sent back to the invoicing system so that they can immediately get invoices out to expedite payment. So we're really sort of enabling this sort of real-time elimination of manual efforts, people taking down information and having lots of error-prone information to really bring more streamlined decision-making and innovation around being able to interact with customers much more easily and cost-effectively. So the different applications that we focus on today, we've broken into 3 different particular products. M-Access, which is designed to focus on the mobile time and attendance, and we've been focusing in on largely the construction industry, where there are large construction organizations or even sort of some regional that have a distributed workforce and a need for being able to track the time and attendance of the different projects and job sites that these individuals would reside at, to obviously score the appropriate level of billable hours to each job. In the weight automation arena, again, it's been largely targeted toward the sanitation industry. I have one use case I'll share with you here as part of this presentation with a Fortune 500 sanitation customer that we have using the technology. And again, the elimination not only of errors, but strong elimination of fraud. Right? There's a lot of indications of fraud that have occurred in the sanitation industry in terms of what's actually being picked up and weighed at the site versus what's being deposited in the waste field. So, and then the third area that we've begun to focus on is this area we call M-Loyalty, where we're really trying to promote the need for the need to not have to bring your wallet and cash as a form of payment, but being able to use a mobile application to actually drive the payment. So think of things like concert venues and things where people might be in a remote environment, different places like beaches. And in Europe, we have a lot of use of this technology for things like use of public restrooms, where it actually costs money to use the facilities, and people use their mobile device that they bring with them when they go in and out of the rest facility. You can go ahead and advance the slide, please. So one of our largest customers is Suez. They're Fortune 500 waste management company. They had these exact challenges of needing to real-time enable the weight logs and be able to invoice in a more timely way. And we've been very proud of this use case. They're a public reference for us. And it's a very significant series of benefits. They sort of eliminated all of the fraud that they were having by having this entire process automated. This use of Bluetooth technology and mobile technology has eliminated the need for having much expensive hardware to try to capture this information and then manually enter it in. And they're able to also do a host of different analytics on the data that they're now capturing, which is making them much more efficient in terms of things like their routes and their driver productivity and so forth. So this is the use case that I wanted to share with you as part of today's discussion. Could you please advance the slide? Our leadership team is led by Ken Villette. Ken is CEO, and he's the founding member of the entity here in New Jersey, Proximity Technology. He acquired this technology from a group in Dubai who actually were the initial creators of this technology, and that team is now headed up by Sanjuka Ray, who's also co-founder and board director. She's got many years of expertise in this proximity field dealing with.
I'm sorry, Steve, that's time. Time's up. Thank you.
Thank you.
The 7 minutes does come pretty quickly. But we do have 7 minutes of audience Q&A. So audience members, now's the time. Please put your questions in the Q&A function where I can grab them, and we will give Steve an opportunity to answer some questions. Okay, so we have a question about, so you've actually listed quite a few use case scenarios of how this sort of digital geofencing technology can work. Have you given any consideration to child safety applications in large public settings, retail or edutainment settings, such as Build-A-Bear, camp, or arena STEM?
And so at this point in time, that did come up actually in our research, but at this point in time, because of limited resource, we've really tried to focus that near field communication technology largely around the time and attendance use case. But yes, the applicability of being able to track that information either through some form of an automated tag, like as an example in the construction industry, many organizations have these helmets that actually allow you to track because they have a chip in them, right? And you're able to capture that information through Bluetooth. So that type of a use case is definitely a consideration for expansion down the road post-funding.
Okay, great. So we have a question. What is your ask for investment? So here's your opportunity to cover that slide.
Yeah, thank you so much. So we've raised $200,000 in seed capital to date, and the current ask is $500,000 to really focus on further expansion of the product portfolio, but really to launch the sort of sales and marketing, the go-to-market digital campaigning around trying to reach our addressable marketplace. So that's what the ask is at this point in time.
Okay, and can you quickly talk about the revenue model associated with that infusion of capital?
Certainly. So the products are being sold in the form of a subscription per user. And so the adoption model is to drive consumption through usability. The target for the company post-funding for year one of operation is just north of 1 million in revenue, and that's again through subscription. There also is because there's also a cloud component of the technology. We have had a couple of customers who are interested in procuring a perpetual style license, which could be a much larger footprint for the company. But the growth trajectory of the pro forma that we've built is to take the company in 4 years from starting at 1 million in revenue to north of 16 million.
Okay, great. What can you answer? What is the current structure of the company? How many employees? How you're organized?
Yeah, certainly. So today there's a very small number of what you would consider employees, and there are a number of people who are advisors or consultants, if you will, who are helping support the venture, including myself. So I'm not an employee. I'm a strategic advisor, and I've been advising Ken on the go-to-market since the inception of the company. I've worked with Ken for over 25 years in several other ventures that we've built and exited. So today we have 7 total people who you would consider employees in the U.S. The only real employee would be Ken and myself as an advisor, and then the rest of the team is in Dubai as part of our engineering function, both there and in India.
Okay, great. But can you discuss the company is based here in the U.S.?
The company is based here in New Jersey. You have an office in Manalapan.
Okay. Okay. What kind of intellectual property protection, or talk a little bit about your intellectual property and what protections currently exist?
Yeah, so as part of the funding, we definitely wanted to attempt to obtain more protection around the intellectual property. So the filing for patents, there's already been filings for copyright protection of the IP.
Okay. Going back to some of the financial questions. So you were talking about you're raising 500,000. Is that equity? Is that a note? And if it's talk a little bit more about your terms that you're asking for.
Sure. So from Ken's perspective, he's very flexible in terms of the type of vehicle. in terms of the funding. And he's looking at just want to make sure I have this exactly correct. Yeah, so he's looking at a pre-money valuation of the company at $5 million.
Okay. Okay. We've got, I'm just looking through some other questions here. If you can talk a little bit more about the technology, what are the points of differentiation? Because obviously this is this is sort of a hot field. There's a lot of competitors. A lot of folks are looking at, this type of mobile and wireless use cases. So what makes Proximity's technology different?
Yeah, so the use of the proximity technology, the combination of being able to use Bluetooth, IoT, anything giving off a signal to be able to collect that data, near field communication technology, and biometrics collectively to solve these problems is sort of the uniqueness of the solution. Of course, there are millions of mobile applications, but the approach of solving some of these use cases with mobile technology and these different proximity-based solutions really eliminates the need for, as an example, in the waste management industry, many organizations have had to spend significant amounts of money on automated scales and proprietary hardware and things like that to try to capture the data. It's not always reliable. It's difficult to maintain. And so being able to sort of modernize many of those types of use cases, we see as a significant opportunity for proximity.
Okay, great. Thank you. Last question. Can you talk a little bit about possible exit strategy and what your thoughts are around an exit?
Certainly. So, from a track record perspective, with some of the other ventures that I've worked with and with Ken, we typically have looked at a 3 to 4 to 5 year time horizon for some type of a strategic exit, and it would be very similar. We would hope here post funding, and we would typically focus on things like complementary solution providers, cloud providers, other application companies. There's quite a large ecosystem of companies in this space that have various different tools and technologies, and so we would see the opportunity could come from any one of those type of places for a strategic exit around the ecosystem to support many of these use cases.
Okay, great. Steve, thank you so much. Did a
Yes.
great job answering all those questions. Audience members, thank you for putting those in there. That's exactly the type of questions and feedback that we're looking for. So keep that up for the next round. But at this time, we're going to turn it over to the judging panel, and we're going to hear their feedback. So each judge, you have about 2 minutes or less to give some key pointers to Steve. George, you're up first.
Well, thank you, Robin. And Steve, thank you very much. And I commend you for doing a good job having to sort of drop in there last minute and take one for your team. So well done on that. That's always a difficult position to be in. So I'm going to give a couple of pieces of feedback. One is just going to start with your slides overall, the company slides. And from my perspective, I found them to be a little bit sloppy. And by sloppy, like if you were to look at various slides, you'll see inconsistent capitalization, inconsistent line spacing and that sort of thing. And I know this is sort of trivial. It sounds trivial, but sometimes a good message gets lost in a presentation that may not necessarily shine a great light on you. So I would encourage you and your colleagues to go back and take another look at the slides and see if you can tighten them up a little bit. The second feedback I'd offer is that I know 7 minutes is an awfully short period of time, and I was having a little bit of trouble trying to understand the connection and through line between what I would view as very disparate industries, whether it be time and attendance or loyalty programs or industrial scale weighing of things that weigh a lot, I guess. So to try to tie that problem together into a succinct statement, and then giving a quick eureka on, hey, we've got this technology, which I'm still not sure I understand what it is, on how that solves those problems across disparate industries would be really helpful for me. So I believe that's my 2-minute buzzer there. Thanks again, Steve.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the feedback.
Thanks, George. Jason, you're up next.
Thank you, Robin. Steve, I echo all of George's sentiments. You're definitely stepping in here last minute. Really great job. I was left with similar thoughts in terms of the market opportunity. You have the win in weight and anti-fraud, which is fantastic. Bit of traction there. Seems to me the other areas of focus maybe reaches, and I think they dilute your opportunity and the efficacy and strength of the opportunity you're putting forth. It sounds like those are maybe secondary or tertiary opportunities. If you've already got traction in one area, it seems like that might be the win to kind of double down on, because you have these very aggressive sales growth over the next few years to 16 million, which leads me to my next point. I would have liked to have heard a bit more of that go-to-market strategy, how you were going to get to the 16 million. And so, when I'm looking at, a very large projection and the disparate verticals in which you're approaching, I'm left wondering, if these aren't a bit more grounded in traction, data, and validation versus maybe idealistic approach. So if you can, provide some more data feedback that you've had in these areas, I think it would be more convincing that, this is the real opportunity in all of these spaces.
Thank you. Yeah, we actually do have customers in each of those segments, but obviously in 7 minutes, it's hard to talk about multiple use cases.
Certainly, totally understand.
Thanks, Jason. Meg, we'd like to hear from you. Your thoughts for Steve.
Yes. Hey, Steve. Okay, so I echo some of it, but I'm going to take it from sitting as an exited founder. If it was not for you and Ken, I would have really a lot of trouble holding it together, the presentation itself. I would like to hear a lot more about the technology, but one of the things that you have to overcome, Steve, is the IP. So, saying you're using Bluetooth or NFT, it's all great, but I can get 7 guys and do that tomorrow. And so if there's more of a story there, that absolutely has to be upfront. After showing the team, then I would go right into the technology and what that really is. The second thing is focus, right? To build, to scale, to sell, you don't need to be in all these different industries or applications or dipping in. You need to really own the ones and at least build a strategy around those to then scale those, even if you then move into another area, which is great. You want to make sure that one, we know how we're, tracking it, the financials, what we're raising, how we're selling it, who's selling it, what the revenue model is for scale, et cetera. That would be really helpful to show in that. But the protection of the IP and how somebody else can't just develop the same thing, I think very strongly needs to pop out of there. I also think 500's too low. If it is that promising and you have such a big client, I'd love to see you really leverage that client and then go after more in the same space and see the strategy behind how you were going to protect the IP, build out that technology and hear about that, build out your revenue model, and then show me the scale. I think that would be really helpful, because the niches that you've picked are interesting, except for loyalty. But I just need a lot more depth in those, or I would encourage you to add a lot more depth in those.
Thank you.
Meg, those are great comments. Thank you. Okay, finally, we'll hear from Mukesh.
Yes, hi, Steve. Good presentation. I wanted to concentrate my feedback around one concept, momentum. I think it helps early stage companies to be able to visually show maybe on one slide traction and momentum. So especially around the links around TPM, technology product market fit. So it'd be helpful to kind of see maybe on a timeline or something, here's how we continue to gain traction and some sort of time element along like employee growth, revenue growth, customer growth, with some data points on there as like key metrics to just understand traction and understand not only product market fit, but technology product market fit or links. And then the second comment around the form of the pitch deck, I would agree and echo the sentiments of the other panelists that sometimes less words and more visualization of the content might be helpful to understand, because it's challenging for anyone, especially investors, in a short period of time to both read all the content and understand what's being said. They most likely will focus on one, not the other. And so to not lose some of that important information, maybe more visualization of the content to reduce the amount of text might help in tightening up the visual storyline there. But otherwise, good and good luck.
Thank you so much. Appreciate the feedback. Thank you for your time and attention today.
Great. Thank you, Steve. And thank you to Proximity Technology. Great pitch under some pressing circumstances. So thank you. Judges, panelists, please fill out your scorecards now and submit when you're ready. At this point, we just want to say thank you to all of the senior mentors with TechLaunch. There are quite a few of them. We rotate on a circulating basis through office hours. So these are just some of the names you might recognize from the weekly posts that Mario puts up. If you are an entrepreneur in attendance right now and you are looking for some guidance, some advice, if you have a particular issue that you want to run past somebody, these office hours and meeting with these individuals is a good way to do that. You can find more information online about each one, so feel free to reach out. And if we are ready, Eric, can you give me a sign if we are ready to move forward? Okay, not quite yet. Okay. So a couple of good points that came out of the panel feedback. Just want to reiterate momentum, really showing and demonstrating traction. Investors love to see data points and metrics and key factors of success. So those are always good things to put in your pitch and to break it down if you have to. I think a lot of entrepreneurs think they've got to show over a year, but sometimes it's okay to break it down quarterly, monthly if you have that kind of activity and can show it. So great. Looks like we are ready to move forward. Our next startup company is Eventdex. Eventdex is an all-in-one virtual, hybrid, and on-site event management platform with a combination of web and native mobile apps. Eventdex is a leader in business matchmaking software for diversity events, with intelligent AI matching well poised to take advantage of the future of hybrid events. I had the pleasure of mentoring Eventdex, and today their pitch is being presented by Durga Mikkilineni, co-founder and CEO. Durga, are you ready?
Thank you, Robin. Thank you so much. Why do people spend time and money going to business events? Is it to find and retain customers, or strategic partners the focus, or is it a mini vacation where socializing is the goal? What these activities have in common are B2B industry connections. I'm Durga Mikkilineni, the creator of your B2B event Rolodex, Eventdex. For a few minutes, I'm going to give you an overview of how Eventdex reinvents the B2B event experience to create valuable connections and purposeful meetings. We'll go to the market shift next, Eric. Thank you. COVID has accelerated the adoption of virtual conferences. The future of industry will be virtual and hybrid. This shift will triple the market size from 7.6 billion to 21.2 billion. The next generation of attendees was born into a technology world and have expectations for their trade show experiences. AR to enhance the on-site show floor experience, metaverse to make virtual attending efficient and fun. How cool is it to get NFT tokens instead of t-shirts and coffee mugs that we all collect? NFT tickets have an enormous future, not only for digital arts, but also for selling tickets with no middleman, no fraud, and no scalping. Artists and event planners can get perpetual royalty with NFT tickets. Next, we'll go to the platform. The Eventdex platform manages virtual, hybrid, and on-site events. Our AI business matchmaking is the secret sauce that connects buyers and sellers for valuable meetings. Our services attracted many corporate diversity event initiatives that embrace our technology. Next, we'll go to our services, more details about our services. We provide a comprehensive suite of services. Our virtual services include clubhouse-style video rooms and speed networking for attendees. Users can engage social media feeds, make video calls, and even exchange business cards in the virtual platform as well as in the mobile platform. Our on-site modules include registration, payments. We've integrated with many payment gateways, Stripe, PayPal, TouchNet, etc., and badge printing for on-site attendees. Next slide, please. We have served 1,500 events, hosting 300,000 attendees. 90% are returning customers. Our global customers include MCI, who runs large pharma congresses all over the world, and Hong Kong Trade Development Center that run investor conferences using our business matchmaking software. We serve a lot of diversity initiatives with corporations like local corporations such as American Water, PSE&G, and pharma clients like Merck, Boston Scientific, AbbVie. Our matchmaking software is used by many nonprofits. Meg, even Witty used in California. DF4S, WeBank, and National Veterans for Business Development Corporation to connect veteran, minority, women businesses with larger corporations and government agencies. We've served some government clients like DoD and Department of Commerce. We even work with many universities such as Georgia Tech and local New Jersey Institute of Technology. Next, we'll go to our journey. What we started as a single app in 2017 for lead retrieval has transformed into a feature-rich event management platform. During the 2020 pandemic, Eventdex pivoted towards next-generation virtual events and still achieved 50% growth despite the pandemic and despite pivot. Next, we'll go to competition. Eventdex's flexible modular architecture allows us to handle small and large events with a few or complete suite of modules. Newer competitors have incomplete solutions of only a few modules for speed networking or appointment scheduling. Established competitors are trying to acquire companies to plug holes, but our well thought out and end-to-end system is helping us to grow our position as an industry leader in this space. We'll go to the next slide. The team. Our team includes myself and Raj, my college roommate from New Jersey Institute of Technology, where we both came as students to do masters. He's been my business partner for past 25 years. We had a successful exit. We've invested in several startups, including a couple of startups in New Jersey. Raj handles operations, support, and finance, where I handle technology. For last 4 years, John Bissett's been leading our sales and diversity partnerships. We have remote employees that include 15 engineers and 5 members in sales and marketing. Next, we'll go to business model. Eric. We charge event planners for service modules activated and number of attendees registered. Currently, our average revenue per client is $10,000. Cost to acquire customer is just over $400. Eventdex is successful with the diversity initiatives today and seeks to grow revenue with more corporate clients. Next, we'll go to financials. Eric. In 2021, we generated $443,000. And in 2022, we are projected to generate close to $1 million revenue. With the addition of on-site, hybrid to our virtual events that we've been doing for the past 2 years, we are very confident that our revenues will double this year. Next, we'll go to funding. We're looking to raise 500,000 seed round to advance sales, product development, and digital marketing. And we need to scale up our product, and that's why we're looking for this money. Next, we'll go to the final slide. Eventdex, the B2B event Rolodex, is here to help event planners, attendees sell and retain more clients, strategically partner and make more meaningful connections. As the hybrid and virtual trade show markets expand, Eventdex is well positioned to capture market share and return value to our customers. For investors with questions or seeking a guided tour, please reach out to me at 732-310-4431 or durga@eventdex.com. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Durga. Great job. You did it under 7 minutes. Okay, audience, we are looking for your questions. So please start to put those into the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. We will pick them up from there. Okay, so Durga, first question. How does Eventdex position against traditional event registration platforms? And how will you defend against these established registration companies integrating the features that might be missing today?
Thank you for the question. So one of the key differentiators that we have is the business matchmaking. That's where we made tremendous progress. If you look at SBA Mentor Prodigy conferences, investor entrepreneur conferences, where you spend a lot of money going to these events, but you don't have a clear way of connecting. So that's why we have a platform where you can pre-schedule meetings and meet those make those valuable connections and make progress. Along the way, we've integrated and created a complete platform for the last 4 years. If you look at our platform, we do everything from registration, payments, matchmaking to virtual events. So a lot of these players that came recently don't have complete products. So they're acquiring companies and plugging holes, and they don't talk to each other. But ours is a well thought out, complete solution.
Okay, great. Thank you. There was a question earlier in your pitch, you had made a reference to former clients. Can you address what your churn is like? I think there was a concern about what your numbers really were showing at that point.
Sure. I mean, if you look at our clients, before 2019, we were serving mostly on-site events. And because of COVID, we had to, pivot to virtual events. So there was a lot of churn because all the on-site events stopped. So we had to find new customers that were going virtual and some of the existing customers who pivoted to virtual. And so that's the thing. But otherwise, 90% of our existing customers come back to us every year for our events.
Great, thank you. We have a question about the technology itself. Can you explain a little bit more about how you are using AI to create these matches and what kinds of protection you have around your intellectual property?
Sure. Our AI is basically using NLP and spacey technologies. We try to build a model, and based on whatever terms that people are looking for, and we try to build a model around that to see what is relevant and what is not relevant, and do a semantic search on those things. and then teach the model to continuously learn on that and find the matches. And that's how we do. And we also have a scheduling algorithm, and based on the preferences of the people that they select and who they want to meet, and we match them. So these are the two different things that we use.
Okay, great. Let me just pick up another question. Can you address more specifically, why are you raising money right now at this point? And perhaps why you didn't look, or maybe you did, look for funding sooner?
Sure. So as you know, with COVID, there's a lot of traction with hybrid and virtual events. So a lot of customers got funded heavily in virtual space, but they don't have products for on-site badge printing or business matchmaking and stuff like that. So this opened up a lot of initiatives, a lot of traction now. If you see some competition like Hopin that raised, almost $200 million, and several startups in this space raised money because there's a lot more traction than what we had before. And people got used to this, making those meetings and having those, scheduled meetings to talk to people at events in a structured manner. That opens up entirely new avenue and space in the space. And that's why we're looking to scale up.
Okay, great. Can you talk a little bit more specifically? You made references to the use of this platform for diversity initiatives. Can you talk a little more specifically about why this is such a good fit to execute on diversity initiatives for large corporations?
Sure. For example, we work with National Veterans Business Development Corporation. Their goal is to basically allow the veteran businesses, small businesses to connect with government agencies and corporations. So that's how they try to help their businesses. And there are not many products, and we're one of the uniquely situated product to help and create that. We understand all the aspects of the diversity, and that's how we differentiate ourselves. And that's how we made good progress into all these diversity initiatives, not only with nonprofits, but also with corporate diversity initiatives. That's how we work with Merck, Boston Scientific. Everybody's trying to create these diversity initiatives, and they have unique requirements. That's what we understand well, and we execute well now. That we want to take it and go into the real event space that has a lot more money in it.
Okay, great. We have a question about your corporate structure. Are you based in New Jersey, or are you you mentioned a lot of global accounts and global business opportunities. Are you based here and committed to the US market?
Yes, we're based in Marlborough, New Jersey. Both my partner and I live in Marlborough and work in Marlborough. So we went to New Jersey Institute of Technology, and it's our home for the last 30 years. Yes, we're based in New Jersey.
Okay, so proud New Jersey, proud Garden State.
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Always good to hear. Okay. If anyone else has any other questions, okay, this is our last question. Is the AI feature, is that aspect of your platform what you consider to be the most valuable part of what you offer?
That's one of the options, one of the things that's not the only one, but the unique way of connecting and scheduling appointments for different segments of people within an event, both on-site and in the virtual environment, is the key differentiator.
Okay, great. That's it for our Q&A portion of this. Durga, thank you very much. We are now going to turn this to our panelists for their feedback on your presentation. We are going to start this round with Jason. Your feedback for Durga.
Sure, Durga, really impressive presentation, both the speed and comprehensive look, feel. Really appreciated the intro value prop, the closing, real strong message. That said, there were a couple things that I think perhaps could have been included, I think that can, to strengthen your story as well. First, I would have been interested in the outcomes. Your numbers were impressive, 90% client return, but how did you improve their business? What did you improve? How did you improve their bottom line? What about, or perhaps some feedback from the attendees from the conferences that were run on your technology? What was their experience that was captured in, say, the comments at the end of those conferences? Would have really liked to have seen how you enhanced that experience. So that would be one. Two, diversity was in your value proposition, but really, I know it was addressed in a question, but what wasn't really addressed much, again, throughout. And that coupled with the NFTs, it felt like it was buzzwording a little bit, as opposed to, sticking to your core message. That said, if NFTs, and I really like the way you did position the NFTs, why not an NFT instead of a t-shirt? I liked that, but why not a DAO? Why not strengthening the community? If you're going to get out in front with Web3 on digital conferencing, why not tokens and creating some ownership around the conferences to then enhance and perpetuate growth for the conferences, right? Because that's what they're really looking for. They want more attendees. And so I think there's a real opportunity there to explore. Obviously I recognize it may be a big lift and out of realm, but just, some opportunity maybe I might not have considered. Thank you.
Jason, great points. Thank you. Meg, do you have comments for Eventdex?
I do. Hi. So Durga, the part that you presented, great, and you're charming. The parts that you're missing are fairly large. And so it's almost like there's a couple of sections just missing out of the deck. One of them is the technology. So you're basically unclear on, is this a technology company? And if it is a technology company that you want to build and scale, then I need to know what the technology is. Not only describing it, but even showing it a flow chart of how it works, and then showing how are you going to protect that IP. This is a market with big competition. You said your competition has raised $200 million. So there has to be a differentiator. And if you're going to move into the new world, I agree with Jason, then that is actually a hole where there isn't a lot of competition, but I need a lot more information before you can mention that to me in a deck, because then I need to know what you're doing. So I think you're missing the platform piece of the technology piece and platform piece of your deck of what you're raising against. So I can see, how is a client hiring you? What are they hiring you for? How is it working at the event, or how is it working virtually for all of the services that you mentioned? And then what do you need to scale that tech group? What do you need to scale your sales team? What are your operations? Because in business since 2017 to today, 400,000 or 1 million is probably not enough. So if it is really a significant platform and you were focusing on those different departments and how you were going to scale them, you might need to even ask for a little more money, and it would be worthwhile if you had these legitimate clients that are 90% return clients. So I think you probably needed about 2 or 3 more rounds of review. But if you had that and that tech platform was good and you could show how you could scale each one of those, then you're in a niche that's pretty interesting. And I think that just would make your presentation stronger. So those are my thoughts. Happy to help.
Thank you.
Great thoughts. Thank you, Meg. Okay, Mukesh.
Yes, hi, Durga. Good presentation. One quick question and one kind of feedback comment. So on the question, can you share what your current LTV, the ratio of LTV, lifetime value of a customer, divided by CAC, customer acquisition cost, what that ratio looks like?
It's around $50,000 is our long-term value for each customer, and
the
that
customer acquisition.
goes up as we reach beyond diversity, but that's what it is right now.
Okay. The reason for that question is it goes to the comment of, since this product has been out there for a few years, it would be helpful to kind of understand the metrics behind the growth and what is the full value of a customer divided by its customer acquisition cost, so that the higher that ratio, the more momentum there can be behind the growth or scaling of customers. I'm sure the COVID environment has, while disrupting the live events, maybe created more virtual options. The comment or feedback is around the key differentiation when you talked about that being that you have that feature where audience members can be connected and matched, and a schedule, a kind of a scheduler. I've seen that feature in almost all the leading event management platforms out there, both virtual and live.
But not physical. That's the differentiator. Most of these virtuals have just scheduling appointments, but not in the on-site events. Nobody has them. So
there are a few that have that feature out there. And so I would just recommend taking a closer look at where the competitors who have raised a lot of money, they've enhanced their feature sets quite a bit recently. And so just kind of update the research on competitive landscape in the key differentiation area.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mukesh. And finally, George, your comments for Durga.
Yep, thank you. And thank you, Durga, for a great presentation. I'll just give two additional comments on top of my colleagues. One, given the number of implied customers that I thought I had seen in some of the early slides, I was a little bit surprised to see the relatively low levels of revenue actually on the P&L slides. I actually, as you were going through the first half of your presentation, I was thinking to myself, wow, this company seems quite advanced, given the names and the and all the numbers that maybe I misunderstood, but I thought you were putting out there. And then I saw the slide number. And so I was a little bit surprised about that. And maybe that would be helpful if you had a longer period of time to clarify that, my perceived disconnect on that. And then likewise, as I'm looking at the top line revenues in your P&L and the growth rate that you've had and that you're projecting going into 22 and 23, I was trying to make a case in my mind to justify the pre-money valuation ask of $5 million. And I was struggling a little bit, particularly given that from my experience that this is a crowded marketplace. And I understand that you believe you have some differentiated technology, and I'm not arguing that you do or you don't, but it is a crowded market space. And so I was just trying to understand what the real addressable market would be in dollar amounts versus your top line projections versus your asked pre-money valuation. And then lastly, I don't think I walked away with a clear sense of what the funds that were being raised would be used for, but maybe I may have missed that as well. So that's the feedback. But thank you again. It's an interesting product, and having attended enough conferences with pretty kludgy event software, I'm really looking forward to seeing you be successful and bring something better to the marketplace than what mostly I've experienced using.
Thank you so much, George. But just one comment, that's even though we have very good names, those are all from diversity organizations with less money. And then once we make progress into the real back end of the marketing side of those corporations, we'll make real money out of them.
That's helpful to understand. I understand that those kinds of clients could pay less for a product because of their ability to pay. So, but in the future, maybe you want to just explain that to a prospective investor up front so they don't have that question.
Thank you.
Great, George. Thank you. Good comments.
Thank you.
Durga, thank you very much for pitching Eventdex.
Thank you so much, Robin, for mentoring me.
Sure. Next, while we're looking at this and discussing some of the ways to contact TechLaunch, judges, I'd like you to take the time to fill out your scorecards right now, specifically for Eventdex. For audience members, there are multiple ways to reach out to TechLaunch. You can find us obviously on the web. You can reach out by email. If there are any members of the media that are in the audience today that would like clarification or would like a copy of our press release, please contact Norma at TechLaunch. You can also follow TechLaunch on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn, which we don't have on here, but we are on LinkedIn as well. So we are out there. We do want to hear from you, particularly other entrepreneurs, other founders who are working on something. Feel free to reach out. Always looking to connect. Okay, our next company that we are going to hear from is BettorFantasy. BettorFantasy is the first betting platform dedicated to combining the fast-growing worlds of fantasy sports and sports betting. We provide a brand new way to engage with fantasy sports by letting you bet on your own league's matchups and outcomes, along with other popular betting contests. BettorFantasy is mentored by Peter Kestenbaum, and today it's presented by Sahil Patel, co-founder and CEO. Sahil, are you ready?
Yep, I'm ready, Robin. Thanks.
Okay, just give me 1 second. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sahil, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of BettorFantasy. I'm very excited to tell you about how my company is filling a massive white space in the world of fantasy sports and sports betting. Next. There are 70 million fantasy sports players each year, and there's previously no platform that lets them bet on their own league's matchups. Many of you here have probably taken part in work leagues, leagues with friends, or at least know someone that plays fantasy football. This community has a high tendency to bet on sports. As research shows, 85% of fantasy sports players also take part in sports betting. Take that 85% of 70 million fantasy sports players, and you have a very large market that is not being served. Add to this the fact that sports betting isn't even legal in all states yet, which leaves millions of potential customers that are looking for ways to get in on the action. Sports betting continues to be one of the best customer acquisition tools, and brands are eager to get exposure. As we fill this void and serve those customers, brands like these will be looking to partner with us. Next. We have a strong and passionate group of co-founders that have each played fantasy football for more than 15 years. And now we combine our passion for sports with our industry experience. This founding team has built digital products at Fortune 500 companies, ran marketing programs for innovative clients, and managed investment banking operations at notable firms. Backing the co-founding team is a roster of world-class and diverse advisors that brings expertise across several categories. Some of these advisors have also invested into the business. Next. We've created a platform that gives the 70 million fantasy players exactly what they're looking for, which is bringing together season-long fantasy and sports betting. On BettorFantasy, players for the first time ever can bet on their fantasy league matchups and outcomes against the house and alongside their league mates. We've launched our free-to-play app, which received a ton of great feedback this season, and are actively working on providing a revenue-generating, real money betting experience that has long-term staying power with a very sticky user base. Next. We started this venture with just an idea that we pitched to sophisticated angels. They saw the vision and believed that we were the team to make it happen. We moved quickly to build our minimum viable product and get in the hands of our early adopters. We launched BettorFantasy during week 1 of the NFL season with both Apple and Google, and proud to say that we achieved our key user growth milestones 5 weeks ahead of schedule. We were able to onboard 1,000+ users by week 14 of the NFL season, and these users have placed over 30,000 bets on the platform. We made it a goal of ours to listen to our users as frequently as possible, which is why we set up more than 50 user research sessions throughout the season to hear from our early adopters about what they like, what they don't like, what they want us to build next. And they've been incredible, very engaging, insightful, and we can't wait to grow this community. Next. Organic growth, referrals, and a lean media budget helped us reach our customer acquisition goals in 2021. In 2022, we're scaling our marketing budget as we begin to generate revenue and grow the team. And in 2023, we'll hit that 6-digit user milestone as we refine our marketing engine and establish major partnerships in the space. This is the year that we'll begin to turn a profit and really scale out the team. Next. Now that you see how we plan to grow, I want to focus on how we make money. So our ability to acquire users at a fraction of the industry average cost allows us to build the user base with our free-to-play products and cross-sell these users into popular real money games that generate serious revenue. With those free-to-play products, we also plan to amass a large user base of fantasy sports enthusiasts across the whole world. In particular, this includes states in the US where sports betting isn't even legal yet. So by offering our products to all demographics, we begin to build a rich customer database that will be valuable to sportsbooks like DraftKings and FanDuel as they enter into new markets once they become legal. Next. This quarter, we're focused on fundraising and implementing those revenue-generating products. We've obtained our legal opinion, which is required for vendors like payment processors. And in terms of product, we recently added basketball to our lineup. In Q2, we'll make key hires to the company such as BizDev, growth, and operations. We'll add baseball to our platform and launch our first paid features to initial states. By Q3, we'll expand to more states, ramp up our NFL campaigns, and build partnerships in the industry to help accelerate our growth. We'll also add esports as part of our product offering. And in Q4, we'll continue rolling out to more states and launch international sports markets such as soccer and cricket. We're seeking $1.5 million to give us 18 months runway, ramp up to a 6-digit user base, hire key employees, and start to become a profitable company. Next. I want to give you a quick look at our vision as we aim to make the brand a dominant player in the space. As mentioned, we'll attain that by adding real money betting this season, which will allow us to open up our first revenue-generating products. Along with that, we'll add new sports and leagues to the platform and expanding into esports and gaming community. Our goal is to really serve our users with sports betting products that they can enjoy all year round. And of course, we want to expand internationally with the end goal of potentially being acquired. Next. Here's a brief look at the competitive landscape. Just to call out, 2 companies on the right. They've both been recently acquired or funded, notably Vivid Seats, which is a publicly traded ticketing company, purchased Betcha in December of 2021 for $25 million and up to an additional $40 million in incentive performance. Next. As mentioned in the beginning, the M&A landscape for sports betting remains hot, as many brands are looking for exposure to the industry. As we've proven our traction and shown a unique angle, we plan on discussing partnership opportunities with various brands that are seeking this highly coveted exposure. Next. Thank you all for your time today, and we look forward to you joining us in our mission. Thank you.
Sahil, that was great. Thank you very much. Good presentation. At this time, I'm going to turn to the Q&A, turn to our audience to ask some questions. So first, before we get there, I just want to say, I want to pick up on something that you said very early in your presentation. You said you're finally leveraging your 15 years of experience in fantasy sports betting. And I actually know a few people who that would be great if we could leverage that time, that sunk time. So good to know it was worthwhile and good for something.
Yep.
Okay. Audience questions. Okay, so obviously, when you're dealing with betting, you're dealing with state-by-state regulations. What is the current and future legal and regulatory landscape that you're obligated to conform to, and how does that impact your cost structure or your revenue models?
Yeah, so there's kind of 2 buckets I'll break this out in. One is, sports betting platforms that let you bet on things like the Eagles versus Giants. And then there's daily fantasy sports platforms, which is where we fall into. So we've gotten our formal legal opinion, which states that the games that we're operating constitute as games of skill, in which that we can operate them as daily fantasy sports. So that's the angle we're taking. And there's we're going to plan to go live this year in the 23 to 24 states that currently have no regulation in terms of the daily fantasy sports space. But to actually get there, we need to partner with a payment provider, a geolocation service company, and a KYC AML type of platform, of which we've all identified or in the final stages of signing those partnerships. So we need to transform our free-to-play platform and include all of those vendor integrations so that we can properly onboard a customer, make sure the background is appropriate for our platform, do the geolocation services, making sure they're in the right state, and then finally a payment processor that can bring money from a bank account into our company, player account funds, and then distribute if they withdraw.
Okay, so you've given a lot of thought to managing this. That's for starting up. As you move forward, do you anticipate additional regulatory hurdles?
Yeah, so I mean, on the positive side, not all states yet have legalized, right? So we can both offer a free-to-play platform and the actually real money service and continue to capture users across the whole country, because right now you can play free-to-play, you don't have to enter in any money, we still reward users with gift cards. So as new states become live and legal, that opens up our real money market base, which can add more to our revenue and profit at the end of the day. But aside from that, it seems, the direction seems in the US at least that sports betting is going to continue to become legal. I'm sure everyone has seen what's been going on in New York, been live less than a year, and they're already, less than a month, and they've already kind of eclipsed many of the other states in terms of handle.
Right. Definitely an active market. So we have a question about esports. Can you talk a little bit more about how you would serve the esports market segment? And would this include betting on tournaments or a spread, or just a little bit of color around how that would function?
Yeah, so this is one that one of my co-founders who's active in esports really is pushing on our end. We're seeing people really kind of be involved in esports more and more. Universities are starting programs around it, building kind of like Stockton in New Jersey has the Esports Innovation Center. So if you're asking about like the betting patterns, you can consider things like games like Call of Duty and Counter-Strike and League of Legends. You can do things like which players are getting over-unders on the amount of kills they're getting in the game, amount of assists they might be getting. But what we're really trying to do is work with those students and people that are playing these esports day in and day out to see which types of bets they're really interested in. So that's an area where we still have we want to do a lot more user research to really feel, because it's very early in the esports betting market. A lot of companies are offering kind of a commoditized product, but we think there's an opportunity to put out something that's a little differentiated. Okay.
Great. So it seems like you've gotten a lot of questions here about esports and about this whole concept of betting. Can you bet on other people's fantasy leagues or just your own?
So right now you can sync your own leagues and matchups, and you can make bets on those. And it's in our roadmap to be able to bet on, let's say, a celebrity league where you have 10 to 12 athletes who have partnered with us to host their fantasy league betting, so that everyone else in the user base can make bets on them. So right now it's your own league. We think that's where the most excitement comes from. Take my league, where we've been in the same one for 15 years. It's all we talk about from September through January. So it's really giving people more action in something that they already love and enjoy doing. And then we're adding on those revenue generating products, because what's really important to us is that the high crossover between fantasy sports players and sports bettors, and we want to capitalize and give those users a place to do both in one platform.
Okay. What would you consider what's unique about your platform, and what do you consider your key differentiators and possible barriers to entry to prevent other competitors?
Yeah, so we are the first platform that lets you actually sync your leagues and make bets on them, just like a sports book. But instead of, I showed in one of the slides, instead of betting on the Eagles versus the Giants, you're betting on my team versus Robin's team, let's say, if we're in the same league. On the barriers to entry side, we've explored IP discussions with a firm. I'm sure everyone knows getting IP on software is not an easy task, but we are going through the process of seeing how we can start to get intellectual property around the technology.
Okay, that's good to know, because we had another question that wanted to know a little bit more about what specific IP you have that, what is that key secret sauce, without divulging any secrets, what is really in there in the platform?
Yeah, so the ability to sync your leagues on the platform and then display odds to the user. So for the customer or our user base, you simply go in and say, yeah, I play fancy on Yahoo, sign into your account, and we sync everything over and then match it with our data. That I saw there's another question around where we get our data. So we get that from a third-party provider, and we kind of bring them together to display what the users see on the app.
Okay, great. As you heard, that was the timer. That was your 7-minute speed round. And you did a great job. Thank you for answering all those questions. We are going to turn to our panelists for their specific feedback. So we are going to start this round with Meg, your feedback for BettorFantasy.
Yes. Hi, Sahil. I thought it was actually a good presentation. I like two niches that you're in. The biggest gaming money comes from free and then in-app purchase. So you're on to something there in the fantasy link of starting free and getting a lot more people as you market to join in and then convert them into a paying customer. And that is even before you get into the world of betting. So I think there's something there that you need to dive deeper into, or at least presenting deeper. Like the others, you're missing the section on technology. You can reveal a lot about your technology without giving away the secret sauce, but that's what they're investing in, because you have to have the technology explained and diagrammed in order for it to be that somebody tomorrow can't just start the company and do the same thing using all your great ideas. So these technology sections are really important, and that's the investment. I thought you were asking also for the right amount of money, and I think that's good, but now I need to know a little bit more about what you're going to do with it. How are you scaling technology, sales, marketing, finance, etc.? So if you added those pieces to the deck, then I think you're moving up in the scale of fundable. Attractive and fundable. So those are my recommendations. Thank you.
Thanks, Meg. Great. Okay, next we'd like to hear from Mukesh.
Okay, hi, Sahil. Good presentation. You articulated the metrics and the chart on like growth and momentum and traction, which is good. My feedback would be that although you talked about the market size, how big it is and how it's exploding or growing in the current marketplace, and you talked about two markets, both regulatory or regulated licensed market, and then the free-to-play unregulated markets that are ripe for regulations to come pretty soon as more states are jumping onto this space. It might be helpful to kind of show beyond just the number of users, the financial aspect of the market size in the form of TAM, total addressable market, or SAM or SOM, because you have both regulated and unregulated, and then the various niches that you have. So that might be useful to see in addition to the other comment about utilization of the funds.
Thanks, Mukesh.
Good points, Mukesh. Thank you. George, your comments for Sahil.
Thank you. And I find your business model to be quite interesting and novel. And so kudos to you. It's oftentimes difficult to find true green spaces. So well done on that. As I was listening to your presentation, there were two big, I don't want to use the word gaping, but huge gaps that I think some of the questions from the audience covered on at least pieces of. And one was that for me, it feels like your entire revenue model is predicated on a gambling model. The free is really, an acquisition model to drive people to a gambling model, you will take some piece of the book or the rake, as it were, in gambling parlance, and drive your revenues from that. And that is an extraordinarily complex legal, regulatory, banking, payment set of issues that are hard to manage and extremely expensive to navigate. And that was not addressed at all in your presentation. And you know, if I were, just for me, right on the going off the right out the chute, the fact that it wasn't addressed would indicate to me that you may not have thought about it sufficiently. The second thing is, if you've ever participated in an online gambling site or wagering site, which I have, you'll understand that the back-end infrastructure that's required is extraordinarily complex, and the security required is really has to be world-class, because everybody who's on that site is giving banking, credit card information, all sorts of other highly personal information that makes you an instant target for anybody out there who wants to try and rob the bank. And I didn't see anything telling me in your presentation how you plan to address those issues, nor did I see the technology or security chops on the team slide that would tell me that you really thought through that. Now, again, it's a 7-minute presentation, and I know it's really, from personal experience, I know it's really hard to cover a lot of points in a 7-minute presentation. But like, I would like to have seen that addressed hard up front, since the gambling oh, sorry, I forgot I wasn't on video. Since the gambling is the key to your business model. And then the last thing is I don't understand how you're going to actually make book for your bets, right? So you're going to say people can bet. Well, what is it? Am I betting against the house? Am I betting against Robin? Like, am I just going to put something up there and say, you know, in this fantasy league, there's 10 people and I'm just betting amongst myself? Like who's the counterparty, to use a Wall Street parlance, to my bet? And how is that being made? Right? Like, these are just fundamental questions about the business model that weren't addressed, which is not to say I don't think that what you're doing is potentially very, very interesting, intriguing. It is a big untouched space, but I look forward to, as you move forward, to hearing how you plan on addressing those.
Thanks, George.
George,
Sahil.
thank you. Great comments, George. Sorry, Jason, you're up.
Sorry, Robin. Sahil, wonderful presentation. You know, the opportunity is really clear. User base is ripe for virality and growth. But I guess where I'm left asking, I think, questions around, again, the regulated and unregulated, the free to play. The real question is, what are they playing, right? Which fantasy games are being bet on? I didn't see the NFL on your roadmap, and NFL is the key to all fantasy sports. And so the market opportunity without the NFL is significantly less, which then leads to your defense against very well-funded competitors. It seems to me that the free-to-play portion of this venture is the easier part. So because we didn't see your tech or your IP, I'm not sure, but what's preventing DraftKings from aligning with ESPN and really offering this with their licenses to the NFL quite quickly, right? And so then it comes down to your acquisition which was interesting, right? There's some competitors in landscape that have been acquired recently. One was for $25 million. I think it was Better, right? So it comes down, I think the real question for me is it less expensive for a DraftKings to acquire your company or to partner with, say, an ESPN who's already got the user base built in and ready to roll. Without seeing that IP, without seeing the tech and understanding how you're defending against that, those are the questions that I'm left with. But otherwise, tremendous opportunity and really well presented.
Just one point of clarification: we launched with the NFL. It was on one of the slides, but we launched with the NFL, so that was our first sport. No, it's okay. Just wanted to clarify.
That. Great, thank you. Thanks for clarifying.
Jason, thank you for your comments. Good feedback. Panelists, you can start to fill out your scorecards and send those in and complete that. So just want to take a minute to update everyone on the TechLaunch progress to date. Has made some really tremendous inroads into the entrepreneurial ecosystem here in New Jersey. It's synonymous with New Jersey entrepreneurship. It goes back to 2012 when it was established in collaboration with the NJEDA and a group of active angel investors in the region. To date, TechLaunch has served more than 150 tech-focused companies and mentored over 250 aspiring entrepreneurs. And since 2017, we've held 23 bullpen events representing over 83 seed stage companies. So when you take those numbers together, quite a few founders and companies and great ideas have come through TechLaunch and through our mentors and various initiatives here in New Jersey, as well as with some reach throughout the region. So at this point, I think, Eric, can you just let me know what our status is? Okay. While we're still tabulating, just want to go back and review some of the key. So the judges' feedback is always one of the hallmarks of these events. They give great feedback that I think is valuable, not just for the pitchers, the folks who are pitching, but also for other founders and entrepreneurs that are in the audience. Some of the key themes that kept coming up tonight, one of the things that I noticed was the idea about the tech platform, that you really do need to show a little bit about what is unique about your technology. Otherwise, everyone else could, the things are so much easier now to be able to start a company and build around an idea, but there has to be something kind of unique. Maybe it's your algorithm, maybe it's your model. It could be that you have a first mover advantage and you're locking up some customers around this technology, and that's okay. But I think the point is that you need to articulate that and be able to say what it is that you're doing. If you do have some unique intellectual property, then you can say we've got this proprietary way of running the analysis or connecting things, and we're looking to explore intellectual property protection. But that is going to be one thing that investors are going to really want to know. How unique is it? How secure is it in terms of preventing somebody else from also moving into the market and to taking advantage as well. Some of the other themes that came up were, and we talked about this before, but showcasing your data points, show off a little. If you've got customers, talk about some of those key metrics, talk about your momentum, talk about some of the success metrics that you've set for yourself and the goals that you have met along the way. Those are okay. It's okay to brag a little bit and hit your milestones. Okay. Once again, I do want to thank the audience for contributing those great questions. They really helped to keep our conversation going. Finally, the prize for today's winner is an invitation to pitch in front of Jumpstart New Jersey Angel Network and Tech Council Ventures, two organizations that are both very active in the New Jersey entrepreneurial community. The winner also can receive up to $15,000 of in-kind services from our event partners, which include Witham, Gearhart Law, Casabona Ventures, and Gibbons Law.
So the winner is Eventdex, and Durga, congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yep. And so this is great. I really enjoyed the panel feedback. Thank you very much. You know, George, Jason, Meg, Mukesh, the feedback was excellent and to the point. And one of the things we try to do throughout the whole event is to have the Q&A from the audience and constructive criticism from the panel. And that's exactly what happened at this time around. So thank you very much. I do want to thank Robin Baer and webinar producer Eric Korb. Eric was in the background doing lots of things, lots of texting and emailing. So thank you, Eric. And again, Robin, thank you for hosting the event, basically. Thank you again to George, Jason, Meg, and Mukesh for their constructive feedback. Thank you to our event partners, Witham, Gibbons, me, Casabona Ventures, Gearhart Law, and Jumpstart New Jersey Angel Network, and Tech Council Ventures. And also thank you to the senior mentors, Ratan, Robin, and Peter, and the rest of the advisors that participated in this program. Again, I want to remind everybody that it was a volunteer. This is a volunteer program. Thank you to Esther Surden and the New Jersey Tech Weekly, who has been a significant supporter of New Jersey's entrepreneurial ecosystem. And finally, thank you to all out there in the audience for staying with us for about an hour and a half or a little bit more. And please note that the next bullpen, number 24, is scheduled for May, the May timeframe. Applications and the actual date announcement will be made at a future date. Thank you again and enjoy the coming spring season.